Hi, my name is Willie Wideman-Pleasants. I'm an author, poet, and your host. Welcome to Willie's Web, where everyone has a story. And today my show is about solutions. We want to find some solutions. There's many ways to solve a problem, but what's the best way? And my first segment today, I have my AWB group. They're back. They will have tips on how to find time to write that great novel, how to turn that book into a movie script, and tips on dealing with alcoholic family members. So you don't want to go away. On my second segment, I have a director. I have two women who struggle with white privilege and how that played a role in understanding racism. So you definitely don't want to go anywhere. You want to stay right there. Let me introduce. Oh, and I have an audience. Oh, let me not forget my audience. Yay! I have a wonderful audience, and they will be asking questions. And if we have time, I'll give the number so you can call in. So let me introduce my first guests, my first authors. They are award-winning authors. Everybody on my show is award-winning, but these are my girls. Not these girls. No, the girls. Pat Perry, she's a fantasy writer. She writes 3 novels. Wow. And they're like this. They're that thick. And she also has 1 comedy novelle. She works full-time as a seafood inspector, and she loves cats. And she's single, guys. Had to throw that out there.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat, for coming. My second guest is Alberta Sequeira. She writes memoirs. She has 3 books, too. 2 of them deals with the loss of her husband and her daughter to alcoholism. She does speaking engagement, and her 3rd book is works from the alcoholics themselves, telling their story. So thank you, Alberta, for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me, Willie.
My next guest is Joyce Keller-Walsh. She writes in many genres. Mystery, mainstream, nonfiction, she does it all. She has 5 books to her credit, and she's an award-winning playwright also. And one of her books is about to become, should I say it?
Well, no.
Okay, all right. I won't say it.
It's only been optioned.
She has an option for a movie. So that is great. So great. We're going to get started. I'm going to ask the first question to give the audience a sense of who they are. And then I want the audience to ask. So, Pat, how did you find time to write your novels and work full-time?
It's really hard. What I ended up doing was taking time off, because for me, when I write, it's almost like a mental vacation. No phones, no nothing going on, just a chance to sit down and let all this weird stuff come pouring out of my brain. Occasionally, I'll try to get something worked in on a weekend or at night, but that's pretty rare, because working full-time is pretty hard,
So you find dedicated hours? Have you dedicated hours?
I squeeze them in. More so in the weekend, I'll set aside a couple of hours and see what I can get done in that time period.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. So, Joyce, you are in the process of, I said it, in movie options. And how do you go from a book to a screen play? Screen.
It's a very, very different genre. I started as a playwright. And that is nothing like writing prose, and it's nothing like writing a film script. I actually went through a tutorial with a licensed, so to speak, script writer who gave me wonderful critiques along the way. And then I didn't hear from him for 2 years. And I thought, well, that's that script. It's not my first script, which has almost come to production. It's actually my 3rd. The first one was at Paramount, and Paramount changed hands, and the guy who was going to direct and produce it had money, and he had a cast, and then he was out on his ear. The second script was in a little boutique film production company. That script was in development, and they decided that they couldn't do feature films. It was too expensive, and they were going to go back to documentaries. Wow. So that film script was out.
Wow.
So I decided the 3rd time around, I wasn't anticipating anything. And I said, I kissed it goodbye. And 2 years later, a month ago, the producer-director, who has produced 2 other films, one was an award-winning film called M, called me up and he said, I want to do this. I just came back from Cannes. And I've created a lot of buzz. I love this Hollywood speak, and I've created a lot of buzz about it. I'll send you the contract to option, and I'll be there by the end of the week, and it wasn't. And it'll be there by the end of the month, and it wasn't. And I think, here I go again. But it came last week. And so I signed it and sent it back really quick before it could change his mind. The process is very different. It's extremely rigid. You have to follow a format that is unforgivable. And usually people buy the software called Final Draft, and it tells you what the margins are and what everything has to be placed exactly right. I couldn't believe just how unforgiving this whole thing was. But you have to do your homework, in other words, really. And be prepared to wait. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice. But it happens.
It happens. That's not a guarantee for anybody who doesn't know anything about options. That only means that that person or production company has the legal right to negotiate on your behalf, to get the financing, to do the casting, whatever. So there's still that uphill climb. But it's the necessary step one. So that's where I am.
Oh, okay. Cool. Alberta, you do speaking engagements. Who do you speak to? And what solution do you give them to help cope with alcoholic members?
Well, I really try to speak to anybody, whether it's a school, a business. Talking about alcoholism is not an easy topic. I have a lot of people that actually stay away from speaking engagements or even my selling books because I say it's just too close to them. So I started really because I lost a husband and daughter from it. And I felt I had a story to tell. And I could go on forever on topics, but one of the most important ones I try to speak to, especially to family, is the enabling. Because we love our children, our husbands, our wives, whoever the family member is, we enable them, and what we do innocently is we bring them deeper into their addiction. And then I try to talk to them about getting out of denial. Because believe it or not, family is in denial as much as the alcoholic, because you figure, it's something that'll go away. God forgive me. When Laurie was in high school, and it was last year, I said the same thing. It's a stage when she gets out of high school. And I thought it really did. Nobody knew she was an alcoholic till she was 37.
Wow.
So that's how it started, and then what went a little bit further after I lost both of them, I said to myself, why is it some alcoholics can get that drive or that will to reach recovery? Because my daughter and husband wouldn't talk to me about their emotions, and that's what I wanted to learn. What does the alcoholic feel? So I put a book together. I didn't write it. It's written by 34 alcoholic and drug addicts, and they're telling the world, doctors, counselors, family members, what they believe works and does not work in recovery programs today, trying to tell them better ways of helping the alcoholic. So that's how I started. I really became an author, I hate to say it, but really from tragedy, but because I felt like there was something I wanted to pass along.
And you wanted to get that information out to help somebody else.
Yes.
All right. Very good. So now my audience has a sense of, I would like to know if anyone has any questions that they have for.
Thanks, Willie. I have a question. My name is Yvonne Powell. I'm curious. Is writing profitable?
It's on the debit side of the ledger, always. Not for me.
I don't think we should ever give up on our hope. I don't know how many times I've told all the women on the panel here, sometimes you can just be at the right place at the right time with the right person. And it can be a tiny little function that you say, I don't want to go to this. I'm not being paid. Well, am I going to have 3 people there? And maybe you have 2, but 1 out of that 2 can have networking with somebody. So I don't think we should really give up on hope. But no, I'm retired and I'm still not on that tropical island that I wanted to get to.
And I
But
don't think
I
that's
write-
the measure anymore either, is it?
No, I
It
just,
really isn't.
now I want to just write for fun because I want to enjoy myself.
I didn't mean to snort, but I have a small following, so they're always looking for another book, another story, something else. So they will meet me at various events and like, is it out yet? Is it out yet? I'm like, no, not yet. I'm working on it. Well, when will you have it? But it can be profitable if you get the right following, and it's not just going into a bookstore, for example, and selling your books. That's the harder part. It's getting the fan base, the readers that really enjoy your work. Then they will follow you. They will, buy as many for their friends and family and everything else. So,
Yes, I've seen that. Any other questions?
Hi, my name is Joanna. This question is for Alberta. Do you feel like writing has helped you cope with the loss of your child and your husband? Many people who have lost family members find different forms of grieving. Is this one of them?
I've had so many people ask me that. I can't really say it's helped me with the grieving, but I'm very spiritual, and I put my hands into God's way that He's leading me, because I feel that for my writing, it had to come from Him. So I'm trying to reach out, because I think nothing helps more with any situation than a person with experience. So I've had moments I've gone to talk, especially at alcoholic rehabs, and I face so many alcoholic and drug addicts, and I'm not going to lie, I get back in the car and I'll have